It is funny how love can feel like the most natural thing in the world, yet society finds a way to turn it into a crime. I never expected to fall for her. Hell, I didn't even expect to fall for anyone. But when Elena smiled at me that night, I knew I was ruined. I wasn't supposed to be there. The bar wasn't even my scene. Too many flashing neon lights. Too many drunk men brushing past as if my body belonged to them. But there she was, leaning against the counter, laughing at something her friend had said. And in that moment, everything inside me broke open. She was beautiful in the way storms are beautiful. Fierce, untamed, unstoppable. I tried to look away, but she caught me staring, and for a second I swore my heart stopped. She raised her glass, a playful smirk dancing on her lips, as if she already knew the chaos she was about to set loose in my life. We talked. God, we talked for hours. And when she touched my hand for the first time, just a brush of her fingers against mine, I felt more than I had in years of pretending. Pretending to be fine. Pretending to love the boy my parents wanted me to marry. Pretending I wasn't breaking inside. Elena didn't ask for explanations. She didn't demand labels. She just saw me. And that was enough to terrify me. But here's the thing. No matter how right she felt, no matter how much I wanted to believe in us, there was one truth I couldn't escape. I was pregnant. Not hers. Not ours. It was supposed to be my secret, the kind of thing you bury so deep it never sees the light of day. But secrets have a way of clawing themselves out, ripping through the perfect picture you're trying to paint. And this night didn't just threaten my future. It threatened us. Elena didn't know. She couldn't know. And yet every time she held me, every time she whispered my name like it was the only word that mattered, the guilt burned deeper. We lived in a small town in Oregon. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone and rumors traveled faster than wildfire. My parents still thought I was dating Tyler, the boy next door who checked every box on their list but none on mine. He was kind in his own way, but he never saw me. Not really. And that night, after one too many drinks, after one too many fights, I let myself be careless. That mistake was growing inside me now. A silent reminder of a night I wanted to erase. And then there was Elena with her fire, her laughter, her unapologetic way of loving me. She didn't fit into this town. She didn't want to. She talked about moving to New York, about living freely without whispers behind our backs. She painted pictures of a life I could barely imagine. A life where we could walk hand in hand down the street and no one would dare to look twice. I wanted that. God, I wanted that more than anything. But every time she said us, every time she spoke of a future, I bit my tongue until I tasted blood. Because how could I tell her that the life she dreamed of didn't include just me? It included the child I never meant to have. The first time we kissed, it wasn't soft or sweet. It was desperate. It happened in her car, the rain pouring down in sheets, the world outside nothing but shadows and water. We had been fighting about what, I don't even remember. Probably about Tyler, about why I couldn't just leave, about why I kept building walls she couldn't break. And then she grabbed me, pulled me close, and her lips crashed against mine. It wasn't gentle. It was fire and fury and need. The kind of kiss that left me shaking, gasping, begging for more. For the first time in my life I felt alive. But as soon as it ended, the guilt came rushing back. I pressed my forehead to hers, whispering apologies she didn't understand. She thought I was apologizing for resisting her, for pretending I didn't want her. But the truth was so much worse. I was apologizing for the secret between us. The secret that would eventually break her heart. Love isn't supposed to be this complicated. Or maybe it always is, and I was just too naive to know. All I knew was that every choice felt like a betrayal. If I stayed with Elena, I'd have to tell her the truth. If I left her, I'd lose the only person who ever made me feel like I wasn't drowning. And somewhere inside me, life was growing. Silent. Demanding. Waiting for me to choose. Elena was relentless. She wasn't the type to let silence stay between us for long, and every time I tried to bury my secret deeper, she kept digging with her kindness, her curiosity, her goddamn persistence. She wanted all of me, every piece, every scar, every dark corner. And I cowered that I was kept giving her the best parts, while hiding the one thing that could destroy us. One evening we sat on the hood of her car, parked at the edge of town where the fields stretched endlessly into the horizon. The sun was melting into the earth, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple. She leaned back on her elbows, hair falling freely down her shoulders, and said, "Do you ever feel like you don't belong here?" The question hit me like a punch. Every day, Elena felt like she was clawing at the edges of a cage. And me? I wasn't just in the cage, I was holding the key, terrified to use it. I wanted to answer her honestly. I wanted to tell her that yes, I felt suffocated too. But instead my hand instinctively brushed across my stomach, a movement so small I prayed she didn't notice. Her eyes flicked to me anyway. She noticed everything. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. I nodded too quickly. "Just tired." Her gaze lingered, searching, but she let it go. For now. The lies multiplied faster than I could count. Doctor appointments I disguised as errands. Morning sickness I passed off as the flu. The way my body was slowly changing, I drowned it in oversized sweaters and excuses. But Elena wasn't stupid. She had this way of looking at me, like she could see the truth peeling away beneath my skin. And then there was Tyler. He hadn't called in weeks, hadn't asked if I was okay. In his mind, that night was just another mistake, something easily erased. He didn't know. He didn't want to know. Which meant the weight was mine alone to carry. One night, Elena showed up at my house unannounced. My parents had gone out of town, so it was just us, the silence of the house pressing in. She brought a bottle of cheap wine, set it on the counter, and said, "I want to celebrate." "Celebrate what?" I asked, pulling 2 glasses from the cupboard, even though I had no intention of drinking. "Us." The word almost broke me. She poured, she laughed, she talked about the future, her future, our future. She wanted me in New York with her, wanted to share an apartment, wanted to paint the walls any color we wanted, wanted to wake up to my face every morning. I smiled. I nodded. I pretended I wasn't choking on my own guilt. And then she kissed me. It was softer this time, slower. The kind of kiss that wasn't about hunger but about belonging. Her lips lingered on mine, her hands cradling my face like I was something precious. And God help me, I wanted to stay in that kiss forever. But when her hand drifted lower, brushing against my waist, I flinched. She pulled back instantly, confusion clouding her features. Did I do something wrong?" "No," I whispered, shaking my head, heart pounding like a war drum. "It's not you. It's me." The words tasted like poison. That night, after she left, I stood in the bathroom staring at myself in the mirror. My sweater lifted slightly, and there it was, the faintest curve of my belly, undeniable now. Tears blurred my reflection. I pressed my palm against the glass, whispering into the silence, "What am I going to do?" The breaking point came weeks later. Elena had been patient, too patient. But she wasn't blind, and she wasn't going to keep playing along with my charade. We were in her car again, parked near the old drive-in theater that hadn't worked in years. The place was abandoned, the giant white screen cracked and peeling, but it was ours. A secret spot where we could exist without the eyes of the town. She turned to me, her jaw set. "You're hiding something." My stomach dropped. "You think I don't notice?" she pressed, voice trembling. "The way you avoid me sometimes, the way you hold yourself, the way you look like you're carrying the entire world on your shoulders. I'm not stupid, and I'm not blind. So tell me, please. What is it?" Her eyes glistened, but her tone was firm, demanding. She wasn't asking as a lover now. She was asking as someone who deserved the truth. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. My throat felt raw. "Elena." And then the words stuck. I saw the life we could have, the apartment, the mornings, the laughter, and I saw it shatter the moment I said the truth out loud. Her hand reached for mine. "Baby, whatever it is, we can face it together. Just tell me." The dam inside me broke. "I'm pregnant." The words fell heavy in the air, and once they were out, there was no pulling them back. Elena froze, her hand slipping away from mine as if burned. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Silence swallowed us whole. I will never forget the look in her eyes. Shock, pain, betrayal. She leaned back, pressing her palms against the steering wheel like she needed something solid to hold on to. "Pregnant," she repeated, as if testing the word on her tongue. I nodded, tears burning my eyes. It wasn't supposed to happen. I didn't mean. Her laugh cut me off, sharp and bitter. "You didn't mean? Jesus, do you even hear yourself?" "Elena, please, who?" she demanded, eyes narrowing. The name lodged in my throat like a blade. "Tyler." Her face twisted, and for a moment I thought she might actually hit something, the dashboard, the world itself. Instead, she slammed her fist against the steering wheel, the horn blaring into the night before fading back into silence. I flinched. She turned to me, eyes wet, voice shaking. "So all this time you let me believe we had a chance? That we were building something real? And you," she broke off, covering her mouth with her hand, as if the words were too heavy to carry. I reached for her, desperate. "It doesn't change how I feel about you. I swear to God it doesn't. You're the only one I want, Elena. You're the only one I've ever—" "Don't," she snapped, pulling away from me like my touch burned. "Don't you dare say that to me right now." Her voice cracked on the last word, and that hurt more than any anger could. I watched as she wiped her face, pulling herself back together, piece by piece, in front of me. When she finally spoke again, her voice was eerily calm. "You should go. Elena, please, go," she repeated, her tone colder this time, final. And just like that, the world I had clung to crumbled. When I stumbled into my house that night, I collapsed onto the floor and sobbed until my chest ached. For the first time, I wasn't just mourning the life I wanted with Elena. I was mourning myself, the girl who could have had it, if only she'd been braver, smarter, less broken. But there was no undoing it now. I was carrying a child, and I had just lost the only woman I had ever truly loved. The days after Elena left were a blur. I moved through them like a ghost, dragging myself from one hour to the next, as if time itself had become a punishment. My phone stayed silent, my heart even more so. Every time I saw her name in my contacts, I wanted to press it, wanted to hear her voice, even if it was only to curse me. But I didn't. She didn't call either. The town felt smaller than ever. Every corner reminded me of her, the cafe where she once made me laugh so hard I spilled coffee down my shirt, the bookstore where she slipped her number into the back of a poetry book, the lake where she dared me to strip down and swim under the stars. Everywhere I went, I carried her ghost. And then there was the other ghost, the one growing inside me. My pregnancy was no longer something I could hide, not even from myself. The nausea came in waves, my body changing in ways I couldn't ignore. I stared at myself in the mirror each night, wondering how I could possibly be both mother and liar, both destroyer and lover. I hated myself. Weeks passed. The silence from Elena was unbearable, until one afternoon I saw her. I had gone to the grocery store, dragging myself through the aisles with a list I barely cared about. And then I saw her standing by the fruit section, holding an apple in her hand like she was contemplating whether it was worth buying. My breath caught. She looked the same but different, tired, sharper around the edges, her usual fire dimmed. I wanted to run to her, to fall at her feet and beg her to forgive me. But my feet stayed frozen to the floor. And then she looked up. Our eyes met. For a heartbeat, the world stopped. Then she turned away. Felt like dying. That night, I sat on my bed with my journal open, the pages filled with letters I'd never sent. I had written to her every day since she left. Confessions, apologies, promises. Some letters were angry, some were soft, but all of them were soaked in longing. Finally, I ripped one out and folded it into an envelope. I wasn't brave enough to see her face again. So the next morning, I drove to her apartment, slid the letter under her door, and ran before she could find me there. In it, I had written, "I don't know how to make this right. I don't know how to undo the pain I caused. But I do know this, I love you. I love you in ways that terrify me, in ways that make me want to be better than I am. I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know the truth. This child wasn't born out of love. It was born out of a mistake. And yet, I will raise it. I will protect it. But it will never change the fact that you are the only one I want. Always." I pressed my lips to the envelope before leaving it behind, a desperate prayer that words on paper might do what I couldn't face to say aloud. Days turned into weeks again. No response. Until one night, a knock rattled my door. I opened it and there she was. Elena stood in the doorway, hair damp from the rain, eyes unreadable. My heart stuttered and for a moment I thought I was dreaming. "Can I come in?" she asked. I could only nod. She stepped inside, dripping water onto the floor, and for a moment neither of us spoke. The silence was thick, heavy with everything unsaid. Finally she broke it. "I read your letter." My throat tightened. "I'm sorry." Her eyes flicked to mine, sharp but softening. You keep saying that. But sorry doesn't change anything, does it? I swallowed hard. No. But it's all I have. She looked at me for a long moment, and then her gaze dropped to my stomach. Her lips parted slightly, a flicker of something fear, wonder, sorrow crossing her face. You're really? It's real. I nodded. She exhaled shakily, running a hand through her hair. I don't know how to feel about this. Part of me wants to run again, to get as far away from this mess as I can. But another part, she broke off, shaking her head. Another part can't stop thinking about you. About us. Tears blurred my vision. Elena, I never wanted to hurt you. I wish I could erase that night. I wish. Stop, she said, her voice firm. Don't erase it. Don't regret it. Because then you're regretting yourself, and I don't want that for you. I don't know if I'm strong enough to be with someone who comes with this much baggage. Her honesty cut deeper than anger ever could. I took a step closer, my voice trembling. Then let me carry it. Let me be strong enough for both of us. I can't change what's happened, but I can promise you this: if you give me a chance, I will spend the rest of my life proving that you are everything to me. Her eyes searched mine, looking for cracks, looking for lies. And then slowly she reached out and touched my hand. It was the first time in weeks. Electricity shot through me, but softer this time. Warmer. I'm not promising anything, she whispered. But I don't want to lose you either. I squeezed her hand, tears slipping down my cheeks. That's enough. That's more than I hoped for. The road back wasn't easy. We stumbled. We fought. There were nights she left my house in anger. Nights I curled up crying because I thought it was over again. But every time she came back. And every time I let her. Slowly, painfully, we learned to build something out of the wreckage. She came with me to a doctor's appointment once, sitting awkwardly in the corner while the doctor explained the due date. She didn't hold my hand, but she didn't leave either. That was enough. And when the baby kicked for the first time, I grabbed her wrist, pressed her palm to my belly, and for the first time since everything fell apart, she smiled. A real smile. Feels like a fighter, she whispered. I laughed through my tears. Just like you. Months later, when the baby finally came into the world, Elena was there. I hadn't asked her to be. I was too scared. But when the contractions hit and my parents panicked, she showed up at the hospital, breathless and determined. She held my hand through the pain, through the screaming, through the fear. And when I thought I couldn't take another second, she leaned close and whispered, "You're not alone. Not anymore. Not ever." Hours later, when the baby cried for the first time, so did I. The nurse placed the tiny body in my arms, and I looked down at the fragile life I had been so afraid of, so ashamed of, and felt something shift. This child wasn't a curse. It was a beginning. And when I looked up, Elena was watching me, tears streaming down her face. She reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead, and whispered, "I don't know what the future looks like, but I know I want it with you." For the first time, I believed her. Life didn't magically become perfect after that. The town still whispered. My parents still struggled to understand. Elena still had her doubts, her restless heart, her dreams bigger than this small place. But we had each other. We had late nights where the baby cried and we took turns rocking them back to sleep. We had mornings where sunlight streamed through the curtains, and I woke to the sight of Elena curled around us, her hand resting protectively over the tiny body between us. And we had loved the messy, complicated, terrifying kind that doesn't erase the past but builds something beautiful anyway. She was everything I craved. And somehow, against all odds, she chose me too. The baby's first cry still echoed in my chest long after we left the hospital. At home, reality set in fast. Sleepless nights, bottles stacked on the counter, diapers scattered like confetti. The overwhelming responsibility of caring for a life so fragile it terrified me. There were moments when I thought I would break, moments when I sat on the kitchen floor at 3 a.m., the baby screaming in my arms, and wondered if I was strong enough. And then Elena would appear, hair a mess, eyes heavy with exhaustion, but a smile tugging at her lips as she whispered, "Give her to me, babe. You need rest." She called me babe. She called the baby ours. And somehow that made the chaos feel survivable. Weeks passed and the house began to feel alive. We learned the rhythms of parenthood together. Elena sang lullabies off-key but with so much heart that the baby always settled. She built a crib from scratch, cursing at the instructions until I laughed so hard I nearly dropped a wrench. She cooked terrible pasta but fed me with her fingers anyway, grinning as if love made up for the lack of salt. It wasn't perfect. We fought about silly things, whose turn it was to do laundry, whether to let the baby cry it out or not. Sometimes, in the middle of an argument, she'd throw her hands in the air and say, "God, you're impossible." And I'd shoot back, "So are you." But then we'd both break into laughter because we knew underneath it all we were choosing each other. Still, the town didn't let us forget. Whispers followed us everywhere. 2 women raising a child, a baby born under questionable circumstances, love that didn't fit into neat little boxes. My parents struggled, especially my mother, who clung to her idea of what my life should have been. One Sunday she visited. She held the baby, awkward but gentle, and looked at me with tears in her eyes. "This wasn't the life I dreamed for you," she said quietly. "But maybe it's the one you need." It wasn't approval, but it was something. A door cracked open, and Elena, standing beside me, squeezed my hand until I believed we could walk through it together. Months later, Elena surprised me with a decision. We were sitting on the porch, the baby asleep inside, the sky painted with the pinks and blues of early evening. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her knees, and said, "I've been thinking. Maybe it's time we leave this town." My heart skipped. "New York?" I asked. She nodded. "I know it's crazy. I know it'll be hard. But we can't keep living in a place that refuses to see us. I want to raise her where love isn't whispered about, but celebrated. Don't you?" Tears stung my eyes. More than anything. The move wasn't easy. Packing up our lives, saying goodbye to the house, facing my parents' disappointment, it all felt like tearing off pieces of myself. But the thought of a future where we could walk down the street holding hands, where our daughter could grow up without shame, made it worth it. New York was chaos. Noise, crowds, endless streets. But in that chaos we found freedom. We found a tiny apartment with peeling paint and a leaky faucet, but to us it felt like paradise. Elena painted the nursery yellow, bright and warm, while I filled the shelves with books. At night we sat on the fire escape with glasses of cheap wine, the city buzzing beneath us, and dreamed about everything we could become. Our daughter grew, and so did we. Elena became the kind of parent I never imagined she could be: playful, fierce, endlessly patient. She taught our daughter to ride a bike in Central Park, cheering so loudly people turned their heads. She braided her hair in the mornings, packed her lunches with silly notes tucked inside. And I watched, heart full, realizing that the love I thought would be destroyed by my secret had instead been reborn in ways I couldn't have imagined. One night, after we tucked our daughter into bed, Elena pulled me into the living room. Music played softly from her phone, and she held out her hand. "Dance with me," she whispered. I laughed. "There's no music." "There's always music," she said, smiling that smile that ruined me the first night I met her. So we danced barefoot on the worn-out rug, the city lights spilling through the window, our laughter mingling with the hum of traffic below. She spun me clumsily, kissed me tenderly, held me like I was the only thing anchoring her to the earth. And in that moment I realized something. The past would always be a part of us, the mistakes, the pain, the nights we thought we'd lost each other. But it didn't define us. What defined us was this: 2 women, scarred but unbroken, raising a child born of chaos and turning her into a symbol of love. Years later, when our daughter asked, "Mommy, how did you and Mama meet?" I told her the truth. I told her about the bar, about the smile that changed everything. I told her about the fear, the secret, the heartbreak. But I also told her about the fight, the forgiveness, the way love can survive even when it shouldn't. And when I finished, Elena wrapped her arm around me, kissed my temple, and whispered, "See, messy beginnings can still lead to beautiful stories." Our daughter beamed, eyes wide with wonder. "That means I'm part of the story too?" "The best part," Elena said without hesitation. The night after, when the city was quiet and our daughter asleep, I lay in bed with Elena beside me. The glow from the street lamps painted her face in soft gold, and I couldn't stop staring. She caught me, of course. She always did. "What?" she teased, brushing her fingers over my cheek. I shook my head, smiling through the ache in my chest. "You're everything I craved. Even when I thought I'd lost you. Even when I thought I didn't deserve you." Her eyes softened, her hand sliding down to rest over mine. And you're everything I never knew I needed. Don't you get it? We didn't just survive, we built something no one can take away from us. I kissed her then, slow and deep, pouring years of gratitude into her lips. Outside, the city pulsed with life. Inside, in the warmth of her arms, I finally felt at home. She was everything I craved. And against every odd, through every secret and storm, she was mine. Forever. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.